But you win this one now. You're 6-0, and you got Dallas at home. You beat them. This is a big game for both teams. This is a huge, huge, huge game. And so it's going to be a ton of fun to watch.
We've had some great guests with Mike Fisher and RJ Ochoa. We've got Kyle Humans coming up at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. But each and every Friday here on the Football Playbook, on a Football Friday, we have Coach John DeFilippo of your world champion Philadelphia Eagles. There he is, popping them up. And Coach, man, I got to say, this is the litmus test for the Philadelphia Eagles. Undefeated, 5-0. Cowboys coming off, knocking off the world champions. They're 4-1. They're doing it with a backup quarterback. I've probably watched at least a dozen press conferences this week. And Brandon Graham, surprise, surprise, is the only one that's actually embraced the Cowboys-Eagles rivalry and called it for what it is, which is a very big game. Coach Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, the rest of the folks, they said, it's more of a media thing. It's more of a fan thing. It's just another game. We're just trying to go 1-0. Let's cut through the coach speak. Give us the real perspective preparing for the Dallas Cowboys. What's that like, that rivalry week of preparation from a coach?
It's great to be back, guys. My favorite time of the week every Friday, so it's great to be here. That's exactly what it is, and I hate to say it, is coach speak, because let me tell you something. If this one doesn't have a little bit more meaning to it, then these are the games. This is when it's fun. These are the games when it's fun, and you just let it loose, and it's going to be a great atmosphere. It's a primetime game. I mean, it's the Eagles and the Cowboys. Been playing each other forever. A lot of history between these two teams. It's going to be a great one to watch, and it's, I get it. Those guys saying it's, one game at a time, this and that. And that's what they have to say. And I guarantee that's what Coach Sirianni is preaching to the team this week, because it is. There's a piece that is true. But you win this one now. You're 6-0, and you got Dallas at home. You beat them. This is a big game for both teams. This is a huge, huge, huge game. And so it's going to be a ton of fun to watch.
Yeah, and this could really, at the end of the season, this could be the difference whether or not you got a first-round bye in a home game in the playoffs, or you're playing in the wild card on the road. And, there's going to be big ramifications that result from this game. And, we're talking, me and Tone, before you hopped on. I know Sirianni likes to defer a lot when he wins the coin toss. But I just told Tone, I said, if I'm Sirianni and I win that coin toss and I can get that link rocking and rolling, and we go up first, and hey, oh, by the way, the Phillies are playing, maybe they score, and the crowd gets crazy, and I don't know, call me crazy myself. What do you think, Coach? Like, if you win the coin toss, do you want to go out there and try to put points on the board, get the crowd behind you early on? Does that make a big difference?
It does, and I get the defer part, because the analytics will tell you everywhere you've been, if you defer, you basically get another possession. So you should have the ball with the 2-minute drill, but you never know how the game goes. I always like getting the ball first as a coach. I understood both sides of it. And, unfortunately, in, some places I've been, is it can be deflating when you kick the ball off to the other team. Because here's what happens sometimes. With the game within the game with the field position, let's just say, okay, that the Dallas Cowboys go back. Say they get 2 first downs. Okay, they get 2 first downs and they punt. Well, now there's a good chance the Eagles will be backed up. So the field position game early in the game is going to be huge. I would love to see them take the football, go down and score, even if they got 3, and now we're off and running, and the link's going to be electric. So, I mean, you're going to have these fans are going to be, it's going to be electric, especially if they go down and score right away. It's going to be like, the Minnesota Vikings game and the NFC Championship game when we returned the interception, for the touchdown, and the slaughter was on. I mean, it's going to be one of those type atmospheres, for this game. And it's going to be, I wish I could be there.
Yeah, it's going to be electric this Sunday night, primetime football. And, they asked Jalen Hurts about, the big knock on Jalen this week is he's only got 4 passing touchdowns, Coach. So now we're ticked off on how he's scoring and why he doesn't have more touchdown passes. And they said, Maybe you guys should throw the ball more in the red zone. And he said, well, we got actually a pretty good running game inside the red zone. Like, if it's not broke, don't fix it type of thing. And I think Philadelphia will look to do more of the same. What's your takeaway from the way Hurts? I thought it was another solid game against the Cardinals. He didn't have a passing touchdown on the paper, so to speak, but again, all he does is get the job done, put a W in the left-hand column, and keeps it moving.
And I mean, I know it's a quarterback sneak on the goal line, but I mean, that like goes back to his lower body strength. I mean, and I love the play design. That was great. You have the pushers behind him. It was fantastic play design by those guys. And I thought he played fantastic. I thought the 3rd and 13 throw backed up in the first quarter, kept them going. I thought that was an unbelievable throw. On 3rd and 8, he got double A's where he got the one play he didn't see, which is a hard blitz. We called a double A package where they had 8 up on the line of scrimmage. They dropped the 2 inside guys, brought the 2 outside guys. I don't know if the Cardinals had shown that before. That's a tough blitz. The New Orleans Saints run that one a lot too, and that was a tough one. But I mean, you look at this young man's yards per attempt. It's not like they're dinking and dunking the ball around. I mean, this kid's pushing the ball down the field. He's obviously did a great job with his legs. I think the 3rd and 11 in the 4th quarter to Goddard was a huge play. Really good throw on 3rd and 11 to keep the drive going, keep the clock going. And when you're a really good team like the Eagles, okay, like the Eagles are, you got to be lucky sometimes, and you got to have a game or two where you go on the road and the kicker misses the game, the field goal to tie it. And you got to be good and you got to be lucky in this league and stay healthy. And right now, fortunately for the Eagles, they are.
Yeah, and we saw down there at the end, again, down and distance, situational football. Kyler Murray spikes the ball with 22 seconds left on a 3rd and 1. Maybe he didn't know the situation. Maybe Cliff Kingsbury didn't know the situation. But when he got that big money contract in the offseason, there was a big to-do about the homework clause that the Cardinals put in. And then they eventually took it out. But it looks like Kyler didn't do his homework or didn't know the situation. Do you put that on the quarterback, the head coach? A little bit of blame to go around for everyone there? Or
probably a little bit. Sometimes quarterbacks get confused where they are in terms of when they slide. So obviously they're trying to protect the quarterbacks. That's another story for another day. Those couple plays that happened this weekend. But it's where the where his first body part hits, so you don't get any continuation when you slide. So that's not the first time I've seen a quarterback misjudge where he is on the field a little bit, where he slides. Those guys have to understand it's where if his butt's a yard before to make it 4th and 1, then that's where it is. And I'd probably put a little bit of, if you want to say, blame on everybody. He's just got to know where he is on the field to get that first down. And I think he thought he got it from what it looked like. It looked like he thought he had it. And so you just got to make sure you're past that. Because I always, tell the guys, I said, don't let, some guy that does this part-time, no offense to the officials, they have a really hard job, but don't let some guy that does something part-time when we're in here grinding and doing all this stuff. Don't let him decide our fate. Let's make sure that we get the first down.
Yeah, very frantic situation down there at the end. Bullets are flying. And so, just a tough situation. Luckily for the Eagles, Amendola misses the kick, and they remain undefeated. Now,
that was like one of my golf swings, by the way, that field goal. Like, it started going straight, and all of a sudden it just went. That was one of those. I was like,
and apparently Amendola was doing that all pregame during warmups as well, and he's got a track record for doing that. I'll just leave it at that. We got the great coach John DeFilippo here with us on the Football Playbook. Now, Flip, I saw the Eagles run this diamond and one box formation. I haven't seen it all year long. 3 defensive tackles, Jordan Davis over the nose, Hargrave and Fletcher Cox on the field at the same time with Sweat and Reddick. Was this specifically designed for Kyler Murray, do you think? Will we see more of this as the season wears on? You're game planning for a completely different quarterback this week in Cooper Rush, who is nowhere near anything like Kyler Murray. Now, surprisingly, Murray didn't even have a rush attempt until halfway through the 3rd quarter. I don't know if that's due to the Eagles' strategy or if that was the Cardinals' intent coming into the game. I have no idea. But what do you make of the Eagles' defense that they implemented? Will we see more of that? How will they game plan against Cooper Rush, who we kind of mentioned last week? He's not going to take a lot of chances downfield, but he's very efficient, very smart, very cerebral. He'll think, he'll dunk, he'll work those intermediate parts of the field very good on you if you allow him to.
Yeah, Rick, I saw the same package you were talking about. I was thinking that myself. And so there's a couple reasons they could have done it. Number one, it creates what we call 5-0 with the offensive line. So there's really 5 O linemen for 5 D linemen that could rush. So number one, that's hard on the O line all the time to be one-on-one with those 5 players, whoever those 5 players are. Now I saw they were bringing one guy, they were dropping Hassan at times. At times they brought both guys. So they did a good job of mixing that up. But that causes a lineman a little bit of indecision when there's always 5 guys on the line of scrimmage. You're going 5 for 5, and then they start running the line games off that. And now it ends up being at times a 3-man pass off, and it creates a lot of stress on the O-line. Number 2, usually the smallest O-lineman on your line is the center, okay, usually. And it's hard on the centers all day long to run the wide zone. Some of the things that the Cardinals were doing, trying to get outside, it's hard for that center when he has somebody on him all the time. Okay, so that could be a reason why they did it. Then number 3 is you have both edges protected against playing a quarterback like Kyler Murray. So I think it was a combination of all 3. I think probably if you held a gun to my head and said, what do you think it was? I think they were probably just trying to create wider contain to keep the quarterback in the pocket. Like you and I talked last week, in terms of just making him stay in the pocket and throw and having to see over those people. But I think it accomplished a bunch of other things too. Like I said, when there's 5-0 all day on the O-line, that can be stressful for those guys.
Yeah, Antonio Holmes in the chat room saying, hey, they better blitz Cooper and play some tight coverage. I know people were upset about this off-man coverage that Gannon resorted back to.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
What's that all about?
I know. Especially on that last drive. I mean, there were times those corners were 8-9 yards off the ball. I don't know. Again, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not one to question what people are doing when you're undefeated. So there was a reason for it, and I agree with your our fan here in the chat room. I think they need to get up and challenge these guys this week. Make Cooper Rush throw into tight windows. Okay, the pass rush is going to get home. They're going to get some push. The Eagles are too good up front on defense to not get some pressure on the quarterback. I'd love to see them challenge these guys, and obviously Dallas has good players. I agree with you. They're the second best team in the NFC right now, and they're well coached and they're playing well. And Cooper's playing good. They got him playing. He's playing within himself. And I watched that game against the Rams the other night, and I thought he did just enough, and they had a great win. But that's what I would do. I would agree as well. I don't know. I just like to see them get their receivers get challenged a little bit more.
How about for Hurts? Because, the Cowboys got like 5 or 6 guys that can get after the quarterback, Coach. Do you run the ball more because of that? Try to offset that a little bit? I know Micah Parsons has got this groin tightness. He said there's no question he's going to play. A lot of people in the chat are saying, hey, just run the ball at him. Like, is that really a good game plan, do you think, to attack Micah Parsons head on?
I've been watching enough tape to give your viewers an educated opinion on that. Obviously, we know what he can do in the pass game. I haven't seen the tape to just sit there and watch all 5 of their games and say, hey, should we run the ball at this guy or not? I'm not privy to that tape right now, but I think you're going to have to keep them off balance. I think you're going to have to get the ball out fast. I do. I think that, there's going to be times to protect it up and take your shots. But this game is going to be decided up front. How well can the Eagles block these guys? And that's what's going to be, in my opinion, the deciding factor in this game is how well the Eagles going to hold up front. This could be a lower scoring affair than we've been used to. A little bit more last week, even though both quarterbacks I thought played very, very well. But these are big boy games, and you got to block them up front. And like I said, you got to protect it up to take your shots down the field.
Yeah, Brandon Graham said we got to wear our big boy pants this week. So,
that's the best way to put it. This is a big boy game this weekend.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That's a great way to put it.
Coach John DeFilippo of your world champion Philadelphia Eagles here on the Football Playbook with Ric Serritella, like he is each and every Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern.
Hey, Rick, by the way, I was bummed for you with the Rutgers game last week, man.
Man, did you
dog it.
You mentioned the phantom calls on these quarterbacks. Did you see that offensive pass interference? They're up 14-0.
I did.
They called offensive pass interference on Rutgers. It was a phantom call. And, they couldn't hold on. It was tough, man, in Piscataway. Temple had a tough one last night, too. UCF put up a 70 burger on them.
Oh, I did not see that.
Yeah.
I didn't realize Temple had played last night.
Yeah, and Kurt Warner's son, E.J. Warner, is now the starting quarterback down there at Temple. He's a true freshman, and they had a little bit of a rough night, though.
You know what? Good for Stan Drayton. He's in year one of what he's doing, and let the kid, if that's the best kid you got on the team, let him play. Yeah. Let him make some mistakes, and like we've been talking about all year. We saw, the growing pains at times that Jalen went through last year, and it pays off. You let these guys play, and it pays off. It really does.
Well, PJ Walker, another former Temple alumni, will get the start this week in Carolina because Baker Mayfield's hurt, and Sam Darnold's still hurt. Matt Rule's out of there now, but PJ Walker drawn the assignment. But which, by the way, I think he's like 7-0 as a pro starter coach. He hasn't lost a start in the Alliance League, the XFL, or the NFL. He's 7-0 as a pro starter. So
I loved him coming out of Temple, man.
Feel good story there.
I loved him, and tried like heck to sign him as a college free agent. I don't know if this is tampering or whatever it is, whatever. Yeah. But we had Wentz and Foles and McGloin already on the roster, and he didn't see much of a chance to make the team because our quarterback room was so stacked that year. And so he, I think he ended up in Indianapolis somewhere. Yes. But anyway, he ended up going somewhere else, and I just say that I don't blame you, bro. It's best of luck to you. But that boy was he fun to watch in college.
Yeah, he started all 4 years at Temple, and I want to get your impressions though, because we're up against it here. We got about 10 minutes or left to play around. Last night, two quarterbacks that you're familiar with. Let's take them one at a time. Justin Fields, he is running for his dear life. I mean, this guy is taking big time hits, and it's a tough evaluation because I see glimpses, I see flash plays, like this guy can do rare things, but it just feels like the offensive line is not giving him any kind of protection. He's taking big time hits. I wonder, his mental clock is probably all kinds of off. What do you make of the Justin Fields situation?
That's a tough one right now. It really is. That I feel I'm feeling for Justin. He's obviously, we watched it last night. He's tougher than heck. They are really struggling to move people, to block people. I mean, as you mentioned, when you can't get the play started, it's hard. I mean, you go back and I've had that experience in 2018 in Minnesota. I mean, it was hard. At times we were the 32nd ranked O-line, and at times you couldn't get the play started. It wasn't those guys' fault. We had guys down. We had a guy retire. We didn't replace him. Very similar situation going on there in Chicago, where it's like you said, it's a hard evaluation, and what they want to do offensively, with the run, play action, West Coast Kyle Shanahan type system, just it's struggling right now. It's struggling to move people off football, and it's a tough deal for Justin right now, and I wish him the best, and I wish him to stay healthy, and but he's got to continue to do a good job of protecting himself as well.
Yeah, and despite all the struggles, I mean, they had a shot to win that game there at the end. Mooney couldn't hold on to the ball, but they had a shot to win it. Carson Wentz now, don't look now, 7-0 on Thursday Night Football. He's got the all-time win record on Thursday Night Football. But a lot of news this week with Coach Ron Rivera kind of throwing him under the bus, saying, hey, quarterback's the reason why all these other teams in the NFC East are better than us. Coach, I mean, like the Cowboys are playing with Cooper Rush. The Giants, I mean, Daniel Jones is far from a world beater. And Jalen Hurts was a big question mark coming into the season. I heard Rivera stormed off the presser last night after the game. He was so ticked off because this report came out. It was Snyder was the one who wanted Wentz, but just I thought an unnecessary story coming out of your head coach, out of all the people to kind of give a headline. It's the head coach that kind of threw the quarterback under the bus. I mean, what was your perspective down there from Florida?
Yeah, that's a tough one, and I think part of I can see both sides of the coin here, and I'm not trying to sit on the fence and not take a side. In Coach Rivera's defense, if you played the whole tape, and I tried to listen to the whole tape, he is talking about it sounded a lot better, if that makes any sense, than the soundbite did.
Right.
But it's easy to take that soundbite and say, wow, boy, he just threw Carson under the bus. And like we say all the time, the old coaching cliche, the quarterback gets way too much blame and way too much praise. Probably the same. It's going down right there. They're not playing great around him either. I mean, they're 2-11 on third down, I think, last night. And, they had, not even 100 yards passing. And so, I think everybody down there is probably, thanking the Lord that they won that game last night, but at the same time going, we have to find out what we do well. And there's some bad offense right now in the NFL. There's just some really just bad offense. And I see what teams are trying to do. And it just, whether it's a guy unblocked or whether the guy dropping the ball or a quarterback missing the throw, or there's just a lot of close misses in the NFL right now that are making some of these games pretty hard to watch, and to be quite honest with you. And, two Thursday nights in a row, a team that scored 12 points won the game. I mean, that's not, I don't think, what the NFL is looking for, what fans are looking for. That's not what the rules are designed to be, with the pass interference and the illegal contact that the defense has to, live by. It's kind of blah at times.
Yeah, Tom Brady alluded to that too. A lot of bad football being played in the National Football League early on here, and it'll get better as time goes on.
It will get better. It will. And it's funny, I saw Tom say that, and I was like, boy, he's right. I mean, he's right. I mean, you can't argue what the guy said. He's right. I mean, it's for some reason. I mean, there's just some bad ball being played at times.
Yeah, the Bucs included, by the way. They needed a gift to get by the Falcons last week, and we could probably spend the rest of the show talking about that. That's a topic for another day. But who were some of the standout performances from last week that caught your attention?
I know I mentioned him before, but if you throw for 348 yards in the first half, we got to bring you up, man. Josh Allen again.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible what he's doing. It's just it's incredible, and couldn't happen for a nicer kid. Well, you got to say Justin Jefferson, had a great game. I mean,
man,
that's just 154 yards. DeAndre Hopkins played pretty darn good against our Eagles. He was lights out. And you know what? I always like to go give you a little my random thought of I'm going to go with a team. I'm going to go with the LA Chargers. Okay, all right. So whether you agree or disagree with Brandon Staley's decision, all right, and again, I follow analytics. I don't live by it. I follow it. Supposedly, according to the analytic people, that gave them a better chance to win by going 4 on 4th and 1. Would I have done in that situation? Probably not. But he's sitting there and I'm sitting here, so it is what it is. But for them to be able to pull out that win after a decision like that, I mean, I guarantee half their team was like, "What in the heck are we doing?" And not understanding there's somebody upstairs telling Brandon Staley, hey, this is going to give us a 4 or 5% better chance to win this football game. And he went with his decision that he made, and kudos to him. He could have, but I give the Chargers a lot of credit for it is what it is, but
yeah, they survived one there, and you're right. Hollywood Brown, I think you meant to say. For
Hollywood Brown, I'm sorry. I meant Hollywood.
No, I know you did.
DeAndre Hopkins.
The chat room gets a little bit brutal. They don't give us any leeway to make a mistake. Hollywood Brown carved through the defense. Justin Jefferson, by the way, tied Randy Moss and Bambi, Lance Allworth, for the most 150-yard receiving games through his first 3 seasons. He's still got 10 games left to go to break that record.
He's
put himself in some rarefied air.
He's incredible. And boy, is he fun to watch. I mean, he's just, for how big he is, like his elusiveness of getting off press coverage is unbelievable. Like the way he can dip his body and use his hands and all those things that, receivers, need to do to get open in the NFL. He is just fun to watch. I mean, and you can see him throughout the course of the game. I love when the TVs zone in on him individually. You can see him setting up certain things with his eyes, with his hands. He's just doing a really good job. And boy, I'd say to have a guy like that, it's incredible. And we're fortunate enough in Philly to have some pretty darn good wideouts ourselves. So we have good wideout play on our team too.
Coach John DeFilippo here on the Football Playbook. Tone, I know we have our friend Kyle Humans checking in soon. Let me know when we have him. I want to maximize our time with Coach here because you mentioned Josh Allen. And much like the Cowboys-Eagles could be a precursor to the NFC Championship potentially, you've got Buffalo 4-1, at Kansas City 4-1. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes running back one more time, my friends.
This is going to be another great game. And for your fans at home, I know Philadelphia is really loud. Kansas City is really loud. Seattle's really loud. I know they all fight for the loudest each year. That place is going to be rocking too, and that's going to be a really fun one to watch. And kind of, in my opinion, the Chiefs are getting after it pretty good on defense. I know they have had some points scored against them, but I mean they're getting after the passer pretty good. This is going to be another one that's going to be really fun to watch up front. Two good offenses, two good defenses, explosive players. It's going to be great. And another game, this is another one I'm looking forward to this weekend, Rick and Tone. I know it's going to be a little off the wall. I want to see the Jets in Green Bay, okay? I want to see if the Jets are not for real, but they're playing better, okay? And you got to go and play the Packers, coming off a really hard loss in London. I want to see how they respond too. They're up all game in London and they end up losing it at the end. I want to see Zach Wilson go against the Green Bay Packer defense. I'm excited for that one. I know that's a little bit off the wall, but
it could be a Jersey sweep, Giants and Jets.
Could be. Could be. That's another great one. And obviously our game against Dallas is going to be awesome. But
let's not forget Jacksonville at Indy. Peterson with Frank Wright there.
That's right. And it's odd because they'll be done playing each other. They've already, and it's not even Halloween yet. And,
wow. That's interesting. Rare.
That is rare that you play the team that 2 games so early in the season, especially in the division.
Yeah.
Odd, but that's the way the schedule makers did it. But yeah, that's a big one. And they're all big, but no one, the two marquee games this week, as we all know, are our game against the Cowboys and Buffalo KC. I mean, those are good ones. And like I said, I just brought the Jets game because I'm just interested as a fan to see how these two teams respond.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. We could have the AFC Championship and NFC Championship preview this week in the NFL. We'll come back. We'll talk about it. We'll be about it next week. We got the bye week next week, Coach. So we'll have plenty of topics to discuss when we run it back on the Football Friday affair next week. Always appreciate the time. Thank you so much for joining us here like you do each and every Friday.
Rick, Tone, have a great weekend, guys.